students with reading disabilities achieve success in the classroom? I chose to do my presentation on this topic because many general education classrooms make little adaptation to the individual characteristics of students with learning disabilities and specifically reading disabilities. It seems that adding adaptations as one more thing you have to do is largely unworkable. Instead, there needs to be a restructuring of how classrooms operate, and I will be presenting some ideas of how teachers can give students with reading disabilities a chance to really succeed in the classroom. 2.4 million students are diagnosed with specific learning disabilities, and 75 to 80% of special education students are identified as LD have their basic difficulties in language and reading. 60% of adults with severe literacy problems have undetected or untreated learning disabilities. What is a learning disability? A learning disability is a neurological condition that interferes with an individual's ability to store, process, or produce information. Learning disabilities, they can affect anyone's ability to read, write, speak, spell, compute math, reason, and they also affect an individual's attention, memory, coordination, social skills, and emotional maturity. Reading disabilities. There are three kinds of reading disabilities. The first is phonological deficit, which implicates a core problem in the phonological processing system of oral language. Another is the processing speed or orthographic processing deficit. It affects speed and accuracy of printed word recognition. This is also called the naming speed problem or fluency problem. The third is the comprehension deficit. The comprehension deficit often includes both phonological deficit and the processing speed deficit. But specifically, it's found in children with social linguistic disabilities and vocabulary weaknesses. It's generalized language learning disorders and learning difficulties that affect abstract reasoning and logical thinking. How to identify a reading disability. In preschool students, you may ask, does the child have pronunciation problems, difficulty finding the right word, difficulty making rhymes, trouble learning numbers, alphabet, days of the week, colors and shapes, or trouble concentrating? For kindergarten through fourth grade, a teacher might ask, does the child have trouble learning the connection between letters and sounds? Do they confuse basic words, run, eat, want? Do they make consistent reading and spelling errors, including letter reversals, B for D, inversions, M and W, or transpositions felt and left, and substitutions house for home? How to identify a reading disability in grades 5th through 8th. Does the child have difficulty with reading comprehension or math skills? With letter sequences, soiled for solid, left for felt, with prefixes and suffixes, root words, and other spelling strategies? What are classrooms like for kids with reading disabilities? Common classroom conditions can and they do affect many students to some degree. Some students are specifically and especially vulnerable to classroom hazards. Children of poverty, non-native speakers, and those with attention deficits could be affected more by this. Students with learning disabilities are among the most vulnerable at chronic risk for not learning under these conditions, for long-term academic and social problems, and for lifelong debilitating side effects of their classroom experiences. Classrooms today are crowded, very crowded environments arranged to maximize general, not close observation of students. Being a member of a crowd can be hazardous to a child's learning. Classrooms are busy. They're busy places filled with rapid interactions, rapid verbal exchanges, and they may leave a student with confusion and misunderstanding. Also, classrooms are time-driven, mostly driven by the clock, but classrooms are rarely operate in the flow of time. And yet, despite time pressure, much of the student's classroom career is spent either waiting or being interrupted. Transitions and interruptions, these can harm a child who already suffers from fragile orientation in time and space. This can cause the student's frustration to increase when they lose their grip with time, and it may even convince the child that you as the teacher take pleasure in constantly letting them finish what they are doing, and you're not letting them do that. Also, whole group instruction. Overwhelmingly, classroom instruction relies on whole group instruction. This is accompanied by large amounts of loosely overseen seat work, without frequent clarifying interchanges, and some children are left in the dust of group-focused lessons and semi-supervised seat work. Some classroom strategies. In the following slides, I've included some effective research-based classroom strategies to help build and strengthen literacy skills in print awareness, in phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and writing. I was able to find this information and research from the website Reading Rockets, and I included a link to the website on the bottom of this slide. The first strategy is list, group, label. This strategy includes 3 steps. Brainstorm a list of related words, group the words into subcategories, and label the groupings with descriptive titles. This strategy helps children develop categorizing skills, build background knowledge, activate critical thinking skills, and grow vocabulary as they get older in the classroom. As a teacher, we should always model new strategies with our students. Helping kids with dyslexia. One way we can help a child with dyslexia is by using a tape recorder. Many problems with materials are related to reading disabilities, and the tape recorder is often an excellent aid in overcoming this problem. Also, to clarify or simplify written directions, present a small amount of work. The teacher can tear pages from the workbooks and materials to present small assignments to students who are anxious about the amount of work to be done. This technique prevents students from examining the entire workbook, text, or material and becoming discouraged by the amount of work. Also, teachers can repeat directions and maintain daily routines. Many students with learning problems need the structure of daily routines to know and do what is expected. I've included a link at the bottom of this slide to a site that has a lot of great teaching strategies to specifically help kids with dyslexia. Dyslexia is one of the most common learning disabilities. It affects one's ability to read, to write, to spell, or to do math. Dyslexia is a result of the way the brain is wired, making it difficult to process sounds heard in the spoken language. Children with dyslexia often have significant strengths, and when their learning challenges are addressed, they excel in school and in life. Dyslexia accounts for approximately 80% of all diagnosed learning problems. Lastly, I found some research from the Institute of Education Sciences Research Center, and this listed ways of improving reading outcomes for students with or at risk for reading disabilities. a synthesis of the contributions from the Institute of Education Sciences Research Center, and it tells us that reading difficulties present serious and potentially lifelong challenges. Children who do not read well are more likely to be retained a grade in school, drop out of high school, become teen parents, or enter the juvenile justice system. Basic cognitive and linguistic processes support reading skills and can be improved through intervention, including reading instruction for children with low incidence disabilities. This research was taken in February 2014, and based on their reviews, they found that these research projects have extended our knowledge about how to help students with or at risk for reading disabilities. We learned more about how to prevent reading difficulties through valid and reliable tests. These tests can accurately identify students who need additional instruction. Other research projects have developed and tested interventions that are targeted, intensive, and based on rigorous evaluations so that schools can support learning to read for all students. Through IES-funded research, they are gaining a better understanding of the components of reading comprehension and how underlying cognitive and linguistic processes operate in a coordinated fashion to support reading. Additionally, IES-funded research is improving reading instruction for children who are deaf or hard of hearing or who have intellectual disabilities. Finally, IES-funded research has helped to provide new knowledge on ways for bringing research-based assessment and instructional practices into the classroom by identifying and testing ways to improve the effectiveness of teachers and their practice. I've included a link to this research on the bottom of this slide as well. This concludes my presentation on how to help students with reading disabilities achieve success in the classroom. Thank you.